Welcome to Confessions of Being Fabulous, where we live, we learn, we grow. Today, I wanted to cover another law topic and talk a little bit about taking care of business. And I want to briefly run through legal, insurance, money conversations, and tax conversations that you should be having either with yourself or with your team in your business. And this is important because a lot of times when entrepreneurs start out, they will focus exclusively on, the fun stuff, getting your product launched. And well, depending on who you talk to, that may or may not feel fun. It's a lot of hard work involved, but, the marketing, and so on and so forth, advertising budget, the things that are going to actually make money come into the business in the first place. And so the boring stuff like taxes, law, insurance, and then even money, the financial piece and the conversations around that kind of fall by the wayside. And it happens to everyone. So I wanted to do a video just to kind of reel it back for a second if you find yourself in a scenario where you feel like you need to revisit. So when you start out, you may or may not have an operating agreement in place. If you're an LLC, bylaws, if you're a corporation, you want to have this in place, or if you already have it in place, understand what it is that you created at the beginning. These documents are the foundation of how you actually are allowed to operate within your company. So that means if these documents say that in order to bring on investment dollars, you need to, take a vote, and majority vote wins, or it has to be a unanimous vote, you have to do it in that way. If your documents are silent on the issue, that can put you in a different position. But the point is, the operating agreement or the bylaws, depending on which one you have, depending on how you were set up, is going to really be kind of like the Bible with respect to your business and how you are allowed to operate, make decisions, and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of the starting point. Once you have that, now let's talk about agreements that you have in your business. And I don't mean written agreements, I just mean agreements. You may have understandings, you may have relationships, you may have service providers, vendors that are doing work for you. Do you guys have a documented agreement? Is it understood that, for example, if you have somebody create your logo, that you actually own the logo forever and ever, amen, and not the person that created it? They created it for you. Is that an understanding? Is it understood that if you have someone perform services for you, that you want them to perform it with a certain frequency at a certain dollar amount, maybe at a certain time of the year? This could be a recurring thing. Is the agreement documented and the understanding documented? And keep in mind, not all contracts, when you finally sit down to do this, have to be super long. Sometimes we're talking a page or two. Sometimes a page or two is not appropriate. So let me also say that, because I've received some 1 or 2 page agreements, and then sometimes it's just not, it's not fruitful for what you're trying to do and what you're attempting to protect. But I will say not all agreements have to be long, but you want to have your understandings documented. It just makes for, a cleaner relationship. If anything ever goes wrong, if there's a dispute, a misunderstanding, you can refer back to the document and you know that you're both going to be on the same page. So documented agreements. Also, in terms of legal, do you internally kind of have certain documents, for example, as your employees come on board, so they know what to expect? If you have an HR department, or even if you're small and you don't necessarily see yourself as having an HR department because you're a solopreneur doing everything, do you have understandings with independent contractors that come on board that, make it clear that they are not an employee, that they are an independent contractor, that they are responsible for their own taxes, that they are going to be responsible for maintaining a certain level of insurance, because you're not going to be responsible for X, Y, and Z. So that's another thing on the legal side, the understandings that you have, the relationships that you have. Is everybody clear on, what that relationship looks like from a legal perspective? All right. And I could probably go on about legal, but I'll continue because this is meant to be just a quick a quick video on each of the major conversations that I think you should be having. Next, insurance. And insurance is pretty easy. It's boring in pretty much every industry, so I get it. But you want to have the conversation with yourself. Do I need to have insurance for this business? Are there requirements in my state that I be insured up to a certain amount with respect to this business? If you provide services, are there, errors and omissions conversations you need to be having with your broker or with your insurance person about what malpractice looks like? And, again, state requirements up to a certain dollar amount, maybe it's kind of okay, but if you start providing services and you're charging X, Y, and Z and things go wrong, it could look bad for you. So these are conversations that are not always comfortable, but you want to have them and just contemplate what you need to have in place. And then also sometimes you do this in advance. Maybe you don't need it right away. Maybe you're just starting out, depending on the services you're providing. Maybe you can, move forward for a little bit without having a certain type of insurance or insurance at all. But you definitely want to speak with someone about it and just see, what makes sense for me, what makes sense for the services I provide, what makes sense for the products. Are any of my products going to cross state lines? By them crossing state lines, does that implicate anything from an insurance perspective? What should I be concerned about from a risk of loss perspective? If I have a product and it now leaves my possession and it goes to my customer's possession, what does that mean from an insurance perspective? All of these things you want to consider, have the conversation with yourself, have the conversation with your team, and then govern yourselves accordingly. So that's insurance. Next, money, 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 money. The money conversations. It is conversations because it's really not just a conversation. You may have multiple conversations around money in your business with yourself or with your team. For starters, you may have to look at what's happening with you personally before you can jump into your business, because sometimes what happens is if you're a solopreneur and you're doing everything yourself, and maybe you're just starting out, or even if you're not just starting out, I don't want to say that because sometimes you're not just starting out, but you may still have certain challenges. And that's fine. So that's why you watch videos like this that can hopefully help you along. But you find yourself in a scenario where you need to kind of know what's happening with you personally so that you can know what it needs to look like for your business. So for example, if personally you need to be bringing in, let's just say for ease, $5,000 a month so that you can pay all of your bills, then now when we talk about the business, if you are only going to be making money, in this season of your life from your business, then you need to make sure you account for the reality of you needing to take a draw, of at least $5,000 every single month for your personal household. And that's important because if you don't account for that piece of it, then sometimes you just start taking money from the business, and with it not being planned, that can be sloppy. That can sometimes, make you incur tax penalties. At least if it's all planned, you can consult with a professional about how to plan it, how to do it, how to, take the money, whether or not you should run a payroll. Those are conversations that you may have with a CPA, tax professional, whatever, but you want to have conversations around your money situation personally and then the business. But I say start with the personal so that you kind of know, where do I stand? Now, some people, they may not have to really confront what's happening with them personally because they may start a business. They may have a certain, amount of capital that they're able to infuse into that business immediately. And that business from day one may be able to 100% on its own, kind of sustain itself and exercise whatever it needs to do to grow without any of your, personal things coming in the mix. So if that's the case, then you could just immediately start with, I would say, a business spending plan. What does it need to look like for me to operate this business so that you don't just, fall victim to shiny objects syndrome. Like, oh, I need this, I need that. Because a lot of the stuff, that people might call shiny object syndrome, it's not that you don't need it. You probably do, and it probably is useful. But the question is, do you need it right now? So I think that by having a spending plan, this will allow you to really look at kind of like the trajectory of growth and what you think that's going to be like in the coming 12 to 18, 24 months, and now govern yourselves accordingly, make decisions accordingly. So spending plan, having that in place, bookkeeping conversations, is that something you're going to manage on your own with like QuickBooks or something like that? Or are you going to have an actual bookkeeper? Are you going to do kind of like a hybrid? Sometimes people will have the books maintained in their own way, but then they still, maybe once a quarter, they want a bookkeeper to look over everything and make sure things are properly reconciled and so on and so forth. But the whole point of it is confront these conversations early. Confront these conversations preferably with professionals that can help you make the right decision. And again, if you don't have a professional and if you don't have a budget to just go and hire someone, you can make use of sites like Upwork.com. You can make use of Fiverr.com. I'm sure there are others I'm not naming now, but you can make use of these sites because sometimes if what you really need is some quick advice from someone that you can trust, I like these sites because they do have reviews and it's an opportunity for you to, make a selection based on the reviews that you see. So if you see that somebody has consulted on what you need with like 1,000 other people and they have 5 stars, chances are like you're good. You're gonna be able to get advice that can point you in the right direction. So this was not meant to be an endorsement video of Upwork or Fiverr, but that's my authentic and honest kind of take on how to approach scenarios when you don't have a budget to hire a professional you need. So there you go. So that's money. So much more to say about money, but we're going to stop there because again, this is meant to just be a quick, brief video. The last one, taxes. There's no getting around taxes. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter where you go, no matter where, you think you can go so that you can get around it, there's no getting around taxes. So taxes, simply put, you want to understand what's happening on the personal side again and what's happening with your business. You want to set up your business in a way that makes it where you have the best tax scenario possible, and you want to look at taxes really from a tax planning perspective and not necessarily like taxes in the way that we may hear it referred to often as we're watching TV and ads popping up and tax season is all about the refund, and if you're a business owner, then you want to be thinking less about a refund at the end of the year and more about how can I do this in a certain way so that now when the time comes, I've already planned everything. Sometimes that might mean you write a check in advance. Sometimes it might mean you've planned so that there's no check to write. But it feels beautiful to be able to say that you've thought things through and you've confronted taxes as opposed to avoiding the topic altogether because it's uncomfortable. And I can acknowledge that at certain points, I've definitely been an avoider, like not really coming to any decision. And so because I didn't come to any decision at all, now you just have, things that are kind of piling up that you have to address. Like it's not going away. It's not going away. So any state filing requirements that you have, you want to check into that and make sure if there was some franchise tax that you're supposed to pay every year and so on and so forth. You want to make sure that those things are paid. So this is super, super, super rough. So please don't take any of this as an exhaustive or even complete list, but I wanted to the sentiments of the video are take care of business. And if you get to a point where you realize too much time has passed and you haven't taken care of business, and no judgment, it happens. It's happened to me. I've said in a prior video, I think at the very, very top of this year, the first video I posted for 2024 with the 7 or 8 women around me. If you click on that video, and in it, I talk about some of us are in our cleanup season. That's me. I'm in my cleanup season. So that's how I can give you this advice because I've made some of these mistakes. So no judgment, but if you find yourself in a situation where things have just gotten out of control, you're not on top of your business, you realize you've not filed certain things or haven't even had the conversation, then this is just a gentle reminder. Gentle reminder. Sis. Take care of business. So that might mean hiring a professional or two. It might mean maybe you can sit down alone and kind of sort it out yourself and just put on your calendar, okay, on Monday, I'm going to call New York State, whatever, or New Jersey State, whatever, governing body to take care of this. But the point is, start to address it. You'll feel better, you'll feel lighter. And then most importantly, now you can grow in a way that is not exposing you to liability. Because the big picture, when you look at these areas, it's not just paperwork for the sake of paperwork. These are requirements for you to be in business. And so if things are not, kind of operating the way that they should, then that means you're exposed, your business is exposed, and it's hard for you to grow that way. And then let's say you're going the route of, looking for venture capital or something like that. There's going to be a point where they do due diligence. And when they do this due diligence, they're going to want to see, okay, legal, does he or she have contracts with, vendors, or at least, documented understandings. What is happening with the independent contractors that are on board, and their understandings as to what that relationship is like. Corporate governance, is there, a document in place like the bylaws, like the operating agreement that talks about what needs to happen if we want to make some, huge decision, like sell 60% of our assets. Have they done that in the proper way, or is it even addressed? So these are the types of things, due diligence. If you get to that point because you're going the VC route, they're going to want to know all of these things. Same with insurance, same with, money, like spending, reports that you may or may not be able to provide. Like that says something about you as a CEO and your business and, the level of care and stewardship you've had. So, and obviously same with taxes. So all of these things, like the point is they're never going away. They're never going away. So don't beat yourself up. It happens. But definitely sit down, confront perhaps what you haven't confronted in a while, and then come up with a plan to address it. If you feel like it's something that you need help with, you can reach out to me. Confessions of Being Fabulous is that, but I also, in my day job, as by now you may know, if you've ever watched a video of mine, I'm an attorney and I work with business owners. And so if it's something that you think you may need to walk through with someone, that is a service that I provide, and you can reach me at phawks@hawkslawgroup.com. All right. But thank you so much for being here on today. I hope that the video was helpful, and I hope that you will get the courage that you need to address anything that needs cleaning up in your business in this season. I wish you lots of fun, laughter, abundance in your life.